that guy, just to recap everything that's got going on, and this killer doesn't kill people. That's what they said. That's what they established. He doesn't kill people. He finds ways for them to kill themselves. So you have to figure out the combination of the safe in front of you to find the antidote that will counteract the poison that's in your veins. You have no shoes on and there's glass on the floor. There's one light source that is just a candle. And, just to make it a little more spicy, you have a flammable substance all over your naked body. So, you know, you better hold that candle pretty good, dog, or else you're going up in flames. Well, obviously he... So, the beginning of Saw. Also, important information about Saw. It was once the best budget to return horror series until Paranormal Activity. Because Paranormal Activity took, like, one camera and, like, 2 toothpicks to make. While Saw took, like, a couple $1,000s in, like, 12 days. So, I respect Saw a lot, and I think that what they had the chance to zig or zag. And zig was torture porn, and zag was meaningful exploration of philosophical idea of what will you do to stay alive, and zag was torture porn, and they went with torture porn. They brought back some of the philosophical stuff, but not really. Anyway, the point is, Saw 1 starts with a guy who is actually submerged underwater, but I can't do that, so here's me in the shower. And he's submerged in the water, and you notice a key on a light, and then he abruptly wakes up. And when he wakes up, he freaks out because he's underwater, like anybody would. Because that's how you drown. So he comes out and he's like, holy shit, what's going on? And he's freaking out and he's like, where am I? This is bullshit. And he notices that he's kind of chained up and he can't get out of there. He can't even see. He then hears a voice who tells him to quiet down. And he's like, hey, hold on, I'll go over here. This will be fun. I'll basically be going from corner to corner trying to reenact the entire movie of Saw. This will be so stupid. So strap in. So the lights are dark, and then the guy on the other side of the room is like, I think there's a light switch. Hold on, let me hit it. Lights come on. There's 2 dudes on opposite sides of the room. And their eyes are taking in the whole scene. It's a dirty fucking bathroom. There is a mirror on one... Oh, wow, there is a mirror here. That's helpful. And, you know, it looks like a really bad bathroom. It looks like the bathroom you go into when you're at a public restroom. And you're like, look, I need to pee. I need to pee. There is no question. I'm going to pee my pants. And then you get into the restroom and you're like, what's the worst part of having your bladder explode? So it's a really bad bathroom. Not like this. This is a really beautiful bathroom. But they look around and then they see in the middle, there's a dead dude in the middle. Dead dude in the middle. It looks like he shot himself. Blood trail is leading all the way to Gordon. He's got a gun in his hand and he also has a tape recorder. And they're like, what the fuck? What do we do here? And the gun, I think, is closer to this guy, who we don't know. And the other guy... Oh, wait, no. How is that? Because the blood has to be closer to him. But I know for a fact that this character is the one that gets the tape recorder. So they talk for a little bit. It's a lot of talking. A lot of talking in the first Saw. Because they don't have a whole lot of money. So a lot of people that are worried about the gore of Saw need to realize that Saw... The first one is only implied gore. There is gore, but it's implied gore. It's a lot of your mind's eye is what creates the gore because they could not pay to have real intestines. So the guy is over here. Well, I mean, they don't have real intestines. That would be gross. The guy's over here, and he sees a tape recorder, and it says, play me. I don't know if they could read it. The audience can. And they're like, we need to get that tape recorder. So he comes up with... I'll use the little tub drain with a chain on it to try and get it. And he tries to throw it and it's not working. Throwing it and not working. And then the other guy's like, why don't you use your shirt too? Ties the shirt to the bath thing, throws it, gets it tied up and brings it over. And then he hits play. And the play And when he hits play, there's a voice on there. It's a very good villainous voice. And it's basically him saying, Dr. Gordon, which we now know is the guy on the other end of the room by the reaction. You're a doctor. You've been charged with helping save life, but can you take one? If you don't take one, then I'm going to kill your wife's name, who I forgot, who's played by Monica Potter, and your daughter. If you don't kill Adam by a certain time, and there's a new clock on the wall. Earlier, the doctor points out he obviously wanted us to know the time because he noticed that the clock is new. Pretty cool. So he's like, okay, well, let me see the tape. And he throws the tape. I'm trying to remember how Adam gets his. There's a lot. It's basically a puzzle. That's the beauty of Saw. It's a puzzle that slowly comes together, and the end of the movie is the big, holy shit, your mind's blown. But I'm very foggy on how it plays out one way or another because a lot of stuff is layered on top of each other. So, at some point, Adam gets his own tape. I don't remember who got their tape first. It's not really important. But basically the other guy, the doctor goes, wow, words. The doctor's aim is to kill Adam before a certain time. Adam's goal is just to get out of there. Because Adam is like a voyeur. He takes photos for people doing investigations, private investigations. So he's kind of a loser. You see his apartment later looks like shit. A little bit better than the bathroom that they're in. So they're talking back and forth. They're trying to piece it all together. And then Lawrence Gordon, who we learned from the tape, he goes, I think I know who did this. And he's like, you know who did this? Who did this? And he's like, I don't know him personally. I think it's the Jigsaw Killer. And then we get flashbacks of other Jigsaw murders. And I'm going to describe them as I get to the spot that I want to go to do one of the scenes. So the Jigsaw Killer is then explained that he is a killer who doesn't actually kill his victims. He finds ways for them to kill themselves. Which there's a giant plot hole immediately because when they show the montage of his victims, one guy is a guy that is like in a bunch of cages that are built by razor wire. And he's like, hey, you have an hour to get out of this maze of razor wire. You're a dick because you cut yourself. Do you really not want to live? We'll see if you do. Get through the razor wire before the door closes and you're in here forever. It really doesn't matter which car I take. As long as I can actually get into the police station. Should I do that? I'm going to do that. I am going to go into passive mode because I have a feeling the guys are going to be real dicks when I get out there. So, in the montage, you see the razor wire guy and he's running through and it's really stylized and weird and crazy. And it's a montage of the investigators finding different traps with victims in it, and then the victim's story being played out in flashback. So it's a flashback in a flashback, which is kind of clunky, but we'll let it be. Let me get a map on where I'm going so I can get to that police station. Now, the montage also includes another one, which is the really problematic one, where a guy who pretends to be sick to get money is told, hey, so I poisoned you, and the antidote to the poison is in the safe in front of you. And I remember thinking when I first saw the film, I was like, oh shit, that's pretty badass. That's a pretty crazy idea. What a nutcase. That's pretty nuts. And then, when I thought about it a little bit more, I then realized, yeah, he definitely murdered that guy. There's really no way to win that situation. Because when you think about it, first off, he poisoned him. That's murder. If you poison somebody, it's still murder. Number two, the objective to get the antidote was, hey, find the combination on the wall, and the wall is covered in numbers. Covered in numbers. It was very much a needle in the haystack type of task, except it was to find the antidote to the poison that you definitely put it in his body. So, yeah, for reals, you murdered that dude. That dude did not kill himself. You killed him. There's no second guessing that. Oh yeah, that's the other part. His it's like, so if that isn't bad enough, dude. Oh, I missed the fucking turn again because I'm talking about this fucking movie. If that wasn't bad enough, he says, hey, so you're gonna have to figure out the combination. There's a bunch of numbers on the wall. Get cracking. By the way, the only light source in this room is a single candle. Okay, that fucking sucks. Also, you have no shoes. You're basically naked. There's a bunch of glass on the floor. Okay, well, fuck. That's a tall order there, Jigsaw. Which, that's the name they give him. That's not actually the name he chose for himself. That's just the name that they give him. Then... and then, oh, I gotta get this thing turned around. Park in a spot like a gentleman. Always take the time to park right. It's being considerate of others. Am I in the lines? Am I in the lines? I am in the lines. A little over on the curb, but that's fine. That's fine. That's not hurting anybody. Before I enter the police station. So, this dude straight up has, everything stacked against him. He's got, can I get in here? Fuck, I can't get in here. Is it because it's closed? Balls. Oh, this is balls. Walk in here. It's gonna be really hard to do this if I can't walk in here. Son of a bitch. What time is it in game? What time is it in game? How do I... Where is the info? Fuck. How do I... Can't see the time. Usually there's a way... Oh, there it is. That's the time. 21. Fuck. It's gonna be a little while before the sun comes back up and this... Hopefully this place opens. Damn it! How do I do this? I need an office. And I don't have an office. Alright, well, guess I'll just do it in my apartment. The whole thing's being shot in my apartment. Ironically, it's very much like Paranormal Activity, even though it's Saw. Oh, the irony. So, that guy, just to recap everything that's got going on, and this killer doesn't kill people. That's what they said. That's what they established. He doesn't kill people. He finds ways for them to kill themselves. So you have to figure out the combination of the safe in front of you to find the antidote that will counteract the poison that's in your veins. You have no shoes on and there's glass on the floor. There's one light source that is just a candle. And, just to make it a little more spicy, you have a flammable substance all over your naked body. So, you know, you better hold that candle pretty good, dog, or else you're going up in flames. Well, obviously he doesn't succeed, because what the fuck are you talking about? There's no way a guy could do that. And he dies. The third person in this montage, which the investigators bring Dr. Gordon in to talk to them, because Dr. Gordon is suspected by Danny Glover, who's doing a great job. It's suspected by Danny Glover that Lawrence Gordon is involved, Dr. Lawrence Gordon, because his pen light is found at one of the scenes. Because when they investigate the scenes, they discover that the person who is setting up all these traps likes to watch the traps through, like, peepholes and such. So they go into a little crib to find Dr. Lawrence's pen light. And so they go to see him. And he has an alibi for where he is the nights of the abductions of the folks. And... wow. Brain fart. And so then they're like, look, your alibi checks out. They don't say exactly what it is. But he said he wasn't with his wife, and he wasn't with a patient, so... we're pretty sure we know where he's at. And they bring in a victim who survived to talk about her experience. And this is the character that was probably on most of the posters and the promotional materials for Saw. It's probably the most iconic thing about Saw, the first movie, which is the reverse bear trap. And it's a really cool scene where they cut to the flashback where this character, who used to be on, I think it was Becker, she was on some fairly successful 90s television show. No, I don't want to do it in here. I don't want to accidentally start a heist. Where can I do it? Where can I do it? Doesn't make any sense anywhere. So they bring her in. She's in the interrogation room, and Dr. Gordon is like in a adjacent office where there's like a piece of glass, a window. That's what those are called. Fucking idiot. What am I saying? And he sees through the glass this woman tell this story, and basically this woman woke up in a shitty room, like at the beginning of this movie. She has something on her head, and she's like, I smell blood, I taste blood and metal. And a TV comes on with a creepy-ass puppet, and that TV tells her, hey, you got a reverse bear trap on your face, dog. And you will have about a couple minutes to take that off before it rips the lower jaw off your body. So, of course, you know, she's perturbed by this news. And he said, hey, if you want the key off, it's in the body of your dead cellmate. And she's like, oh, shit. So she's, like, in a chair. I wish I could sit in these chairs. And there's another stylized thing where it's, like, sped up, and she's freaking out. And she gets out of the chair, and when she lifts her head up away from the chair, pin comes out, timer starts. And that's, like, the worst part of Saw movies, is when you see a character being told, hey, so, look, you're gonna have a time limit. And when that shit kicks off, you're gonna have this amount of time to get it done. And everybody in the movie, when this happens, understandably, they freak out. They're like, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And then they start the timer themselves, and not one person is like, hey, let's calm down. I don't know when this starts. Let's examine what I got. Let's do it quickly, quietly. Like, it's never a calm, cool, collected person. I mean, that doesn't make for a good horror movie. But the fact that they start it themselves is always like the, God damn it, guys. If you just found that, you probably could have kept the fucking pin inside and then dug through your roommate's innards without setting it off. So she gets out of the thing. She starts freaking out. She realizes she can't take it off. And then she walks over to the guy. And the guy is laying in the middle of this room. She slowly pulls off his shirt. There's a big question mark on his chest. Well, on his chest all the way to his stomach. And she pulls out this tiny knife, and she's like, well, gonna do it. And then the guy wakes up. He was on some powerful sedative. He was asleep. Dude wakes up, and she just starts stabbing. Oh, do I have a knife? Oh, I can't bring up a knife. Fuck. She has a knife, and she's just stabbing. She's just stabbing away. I don't know why I'm moving, but I don't have a body to represent. She's just stabbing away, pulls out the key, takes it off at the last second. The thing goes off. She's crying, and then the puppet that was talking to her comes out on a tricycle and says, congratulations, you're alive. Some people are so ungrateful to be alive. Not you, not anymore. And that's it. And Danny Glover says, you used to be a drug addict and you are now clean. And she's like, he helped me. And you're like, wow, powerful message. It helped one person. She didn't get the same fucking deal that the guy with the safe got. The guy with the safe basically got a big fuck you. He was like, I really don't care if you can pass this. You're just gonna die. But she got a chance to get out of that, and she did. Cuts back to the dude in the bathroom. And he's like, and the guy over here's freaking out because the doctor told him that, and he's all pissed off, and he's like, you have something I don't have, man. You got information. I don't have any information. I don't got shit. And it's really hard to do Saw because there's a lot of twists and turns that it's very difficult to explain without going through every intimate detail, but I'll do some highlights. So at one point, they open up the toilet, which is full of what looks like human shit, and they don't find anything, but then they go into the tank and they find 2 hacksaws. Stop complaining, keep talking. Fuck you, Ben. All right, I don't need your fucking Monday morning quarterback. Wow, fuck. Monday morning quarterbacking over there. This is my weekly movie night. Well, some highlights. They find 2 hacksaws, and the doctor just says, after they try to cut through the chains and it doesn't fucking work, he says he didn't give us these to cut through our chains, he gave us these to cut through our feet. And now it's pretty much set up, yeah, at one point one of these dudes is gonna cut through their foot, and that's gonna be fucking nuts. And it happens, but once again, implied gore. It's implied. So, they go through a bunch of twists and turns, whatever. They get a cell phone, and the cell phone doesn't work to make outgoing calls, and a call comes in. And that call is Dr. Gordon's wife. And Dr. Gordon's wife tells him, yeah, exactly, Ben 1. Fucking tell Ben 2 what the fuck's going on. So, she says, don't believe Adam's lies. He knew you knew you way before today. Don't believe him. And then Adam, for some odd reason, takes a really aggressive tone with the doctor, and he's like, yeah, you're right. I do know who you are. And he's like, look at this. Here's all the pictures I took of you when I was asked by a private investigator to follow you. And it's him hanging out with this Asian woman who turns out to be the woman he's boning on the side. And the doctor's like, who paid you to take these photos of me? And he's like, oh, I don't know, some dude. Some dude told me to pay you. And he's like, well, what's some dude? What's his name? And he's like, man, I don't know his name. He paid in cash and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you don't know anything about the man. It's a really good scene because they're fighting. And he goes, he has a big scar on his neck. And he goes, the detective, he was fired after he went crazy thinking it was me that was the killer. And it cuts to Danny Glover, who's doing some crazy man shit, who's obsessed with the Jigsaw Killer, assumes that it's Dr. Gordon, and he is spurred on because of a moment he had with his partner. Now, what I'm going to do, which it's going to disappoint Ben quite a bit, I'm going to take a quick break so I can stand up and stretch my back. And when I come back, I'll explain what happened with the detectives, as well as where the movie kind of goes from there. But let me take a quick break to stretch my back. Alright, I'm back. And I used that time while I was standing up and stretching to try and get to a location to better explain what's going on. Hopefully this fucking dude doesn't kill me, wherever this guy is. Where is he going? Okay. Yeah, it looks like he might be just leaving. I really hope so, because I do not have the means to protect myself against him. And I need the guns to explain what happened in the movie. So, Dr. Gordon, who's chained up with Adam, finds out that the detective that assumed it was him had paid Adam to follow him. And he's like, yeah, he went crazy after his theory wasn't working, and something happened to his partner. So then they cut to him, and he's in like a shitty apartment with all the Jigsaw clippings up in his rooms, and he's all pissed off, and he's like, I forgot what his partner's name was, but I shouldn't have let that happen to you. And they're going over the Jigsaw tape, and they notice a piece of graffiti, and they're like, oh my gosh, I know exactly where that is. We need to go down there. And they go to this industrial area, and they start searching. And they start searching. And based off of some weird, like, fire alarm thing, they do some NYPD Blue Detective work, and they get it to, like, a few square blocks. So they're looking through these buildings, and they're looking through the Asian guy that's Danny Glover's partner. He has a shotgun, and Danny Glover's got just his sidearm. And they're looking around, they're looking around, they're looking around. Pretend that the hand in this photo is actually black, because Danny Glover is, of course, African-American. So they're searching, they're looking around, they're looking around, they're looking around. And eventually, they find a room, which this will be the best I can do, really, is this because it's covered. They find a room. Oh, shit. Oh, cool. Got some action figure. So they find... Oh, thought I would have to bank that money. I do not. So they find a room with all the saw traps. like bunch of drawings, some fucked up shit, and they're like, we got him. We got him. We see this over here, we see this over here, we're all good, we're sweet. And then they hear somebody coming up the stairs, and they're like, oh shit, what the fuck do we do? What the fuck do we do? He's like, well, we take them in, obviously. Hide. So they hide, and then Jigsaw comes in. Oh, that's right, they find a dude... they find a dude, all locked up with a weird shit on him, and they're not 100% sure what's going on. And that's why they freak out, because they're like, oh my gosh, do we save the guy, or do we save the guy, or do we catch our guy? What do we do? So then they're like, let's hide him, and we'll hide. So as they hide, Jigsaw comes back, and we're still not 100% sure who he is. And he takes off with the thing, and he's like, oh, I guess I gotta use a better sedative next time. And then they go, freeze! And he's like, okay, alright, you got me. It's cool. It's alright. And then Jigsaw puts his hands over his head, and he's like, whoops! And he hits a button, and then the trap goes off. And the trap has 2 drills coming towards the dude's neck. And you're like, holy shit. And he's like, you better figure out how to get him. He's like, where's the key? And he's like, the key's in the box. Opens up the box, there's a ton of keys. So the Asian guy is trying really hard to get the guy free. Danny Glover's got his gun pointed on Jigsaw. And he's like, yeah, you're a sick piece of shit. Shut the fuck up, blah, 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 blah. And the Asian dude is like, fuck, I can't find the key. Can't find the key. Which key is it? And then he gets pissed off and just shoots the drill so they stop moving. This distracts Danny Glover, who then gets cut in the throat by Jigsaw. So Jigsaw cut him, and then he starts running. He starts running, and the Asian guy starts running after him. And Danny Glover is not far behind, but they're running. They're running through a whole bunch of shit. Running. And then there's a part where there's like cobwebs. And the Asian guy goes to step through them. And as he steps through them, uh-oh, shocker, bunch of guns pointed downward. He hits a tripwire. You don't see it, but they basically shoot his head off, and he falls down dead. And Danny Glover tries to get up the stairs. And he staggers up the stairs with a big cut on his throat. And he's like, reaches out. Do I have the... He reaches out. And he kind of like gives up a fist, like a... Why I oughta, how dare you? Cuts back to his apartment. He's a loser. He still thinks it's Gordon. He thinks he just hasn't figured it out. And he has a camera up on Gordon's house. We find that out too. He has a camera set on Gordon's apartment just waiting for him to come back. We then get a little backstory on Gordon and Adam, how they were both caught by Jigsaw. Gordon was getting some side action from one of his young Asian residents in the hospital, and he gets caught at a motel, which it's a seedy motel, but the creepy part of it is when he gets abducted, whoever abducts him, which we believe is Jigsaw, actually has a pig mask and crawls out from behind his car and then gets him and brings him in. And then Adam remembers that it was in his apartment, and there's a really, really awesome scene that I could never replicate, where he's in his apartment and it's completely dark, and he's using the flash of his camera to try and see around, because it looks like it's, what's it called? Looks like there's a power outage. And so the flash would kick on, and then you hear the flash booting up again. Booting up, however the flashes work. And sure enough, it's basically just counting down until eventually you see something in the flash that scares you, and it does. I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, but it's fucking great, and you should see it. So, they eventually start looking through the photos that Dr. Gordon, or the photos of Dr. Gordon taken by Adam, and Dr. Gordon starts to notice there are pictures of his house, or his apartment, with a guy named Zepp in them, and Zepp is an orderly who is barely mentioned in the movie. He has like 2 scenes, and stealing these signs. It's pretty funny. And Dr. Lawrence then thinks, oh my gosh, it must be this guy. And sure enough, you cut back to Dr. Lawrence's house where his wife and daughter have been terrified occasionally by a completely unnamed and unseen person. And sure enough, it is Zep, and Zep starts freaking out, and he's like, well, he didn't accomplish his goal by killing Adam, so I guess you're gonna have to die. But you're gonna call him to let him know he failed. And when he calls him, his wife is like, hey, you failed. Then, early in the movie, it shows that she's gotten out of her restraints. She punches him. Muzzle flashes go off, which alert Danny Glover in the room across the way, where he has set up a sting. And all Dr. Gordon hears is screaming and gunshots, and so he thinks his wife has died. So Dr. Gordon does what any man who believes he has nothing to live for, and his wife has just been murdered due to his selfishness. He gets that hacksaw, and he ties up his leg, and he starts cutting. He just starts cutting. And Adam is screaming, don't do it, please don't, please. And, you know, it's very, very, it's very well detailed in terms of sound. And it sounds like a dude who's cutting his foot off. And he's cutting, and then you hear bones breaking, cutting. And then, when he throws the saw away and it's covered in blood, he slowly crawls to the center of the bathroom. Because he's over here. He slowly crawls to the center of the bathroom, picks up the gun, puts a single bullet in it, which was in one of the party boxes that he got during this escape room. And he points it at Adam, and he's like, I'm sorry, I have to do this. And he's like, no, I want to live, I want to live. And he shoots him. So then Adam collapses in front of him. He looks at the mirror, which they found out was one-way mirror, and there's a camera. And he goes, I did it, let them go, bring them to me. And he's like, whatever. Danny Glover, meanwhile, is fighting Zep, who was Benjamin Linus on Lost. So if you don't know who that is, he plays creepy dudes really well. And he is like chasing Zep all over the place because he chased him into that apartment. And he's chasing him, and eventually they have a fight in a hallway outside the bathroom, and Zep gets a shot off and basically kills him. And Zep comes into the room, and Zep's like, holy shit, there's a lot of blood and dead people in here. And he points a gun at Lawrence, Dr. Gordon, Lawrence Gordon. And he's like, you're too late, you failed. And then Adam, guess what, still alive, hits him with the top of the toilet tank. And he goes down, and then he just beats him savagely until he stops moving. And Lawrence crawls over to Adam and kind of like holds him. And Adam, of course, was shot. He was shot in the shoulder, and he's bleeding. Everybody's bleeding, and everybody's hurt. They're all getting whiter because they're losing a lot of blood. And Lawrence goes, I'm gonna go get help. And he goes out the door. Keep in mind, still doesn't have a foot. Still crawling. Crawling. And Adam's like, please, don't leave me, please. And then, after Lawrence is gone, Adam starts looking through Zep's shit. He's like, hey man, he masterminded this thing. He's got to have the keys. He's got to have something. And he's looking. He doesn't look for his cell phone, which, I mean, that would be the first thing I look for. But then he finds a tape. And a tape recorder. And he turns it on, and then the voice goes, basically, Zep, I don't know why you deserve this, but I gave you poison. You need to hold this man's woman and daughter hostage and maybe murder them if he doesn't complete the goal I've given him. And if you don't do it, I won't give you the antidote for your poison. And he's like, I don't know where Adam is in relation to this, but he's like, holy shit, somebody's been pulling this guy's strings. And then in the background, the body that was at the very beginning, if you possibly remember this horrible retelling of this, the body in the beginning stands up. And I thought you thought he was dead this whole time. He rips off some makeup that he had on to make it look like he was shot. I also don't know why. he has to face that way when he's running. I can't face any other direction in that mirror, and it bothers the fuck out of me. But he takes off the prosthetics that make it look like he shot himself, and he goes, hey, the keys to your chain were in the tub, and now they're gone because you opened the drain of the tub when you got out of it. And he goes, holy shit, and he goes to grab the gun and shoot at him, and the guy hits a button, which, by the way, these chains can shock people. That's an important point. Didn't mention it. It's not important. It's not important that I mention the important point, because this isn't a good retelling of Saw. You should just see it yourself. It's a great movie. But he turns it on so the guy gets shocked, and then he walks to the door, and then at the door he goes, game over, and then closes the door. And it's this really great crescendo and great music, and you realize, like, holy shit, the game was being played on everyone. The guy's a genius, also a mastermind and a fucking engineering genius. And as more movies were made from Saw, you realize just how impossible it is to do what this man does. Anyway, that's Saw in a nutshell. My throat is on fire. But yeah, Saw. You should see it. I mean, there's no way I could retell it and do it justice. It's a movie that it's a good watch to at least have seen it once. Kind of like The Game. I don't know if you've ever seen The Game with one of the Douglases. Not Kirk Douglas, who has recently passed. Rest in peace. Michael Douglas. That's a really good movie too, but once you've seen it once, it's a little